Yes, we can start. We can start.
Hello everyone. I am Shinjini and I teach in the MA Education program at Azim Premji University in Bhopal. I am excited to introduce this new series of recurring conversations where we plan to come together on the first Friday of every month to discuss ideas and themes in education. Welcome to the first session of this series. We are all aware that we live in challenging times, and science teaching within this context raises important questions. How do we nurture rational individuals with a scientific temperament that are capable of leading the world in a meaningful direction? This is a concern we constantly grapple with as students or as teachers and school administrators alike. Our first session takes up this very theme, teaching science in difficult times and shaping it for a sustainable society. We have with us Dr. Saurabh Shom, who teaches in the MA Education program of Azim Premji University in Bhopal. Saurabh has been with the foundation since 2014 in various capacities as a teacher, school administrator, curriculum developer, teacher educator, and most recently as faculty. He wears quite a few hats in the institution, but at heart, he is a passionate student of science. His curiosity about how the world works is infectious, and this is what makes him the perfect person to facilitate today's session. Thank you, Saurabh, for agreeing to be with us today. I am sure this talk will leave us richer with new ideas and questions to carry forward. So, without further delay, I invite Saurabh to get us started.
Thank you very much, Shinjani. Thank you, everyone, those who are present here. Uh, today's topic already Shinjani has mentioned, and there was a registration form that was given to you, and you have lots of questions that you have asked. What I will try to do, I will present my ideas, and I will also acknowledge what questions you have asked. I will try to cover these questions along with the presentation, and whatever questions remained, you can ask in the chat box. So, as you know, the title of this talk is something that teaching science is a challenging time. What are the challenges in the present time? So I will also show you the presentation slides. So in a slide, you will realize that the present time is difficult. There are multiple reasons why they are difficult. Certainly, environmental crisis, climate issues are a challenge that we all know. But major problem is probably why are there problems in climate, in our social life, in our political life, and these problems are not limited to one country. They are pervasive. In almost all countries, we are facing the challenges. Now, we cannot simply say these challenges are national. These are actually international problems. These are global problems. And how science teaching can address these global problems. That is the point we have. But interestingly, we also have to understand what are the global problems, what are the causes, and how science teaching can help us to resolve this problem, to address this problem, or maybe to understand these problems better. So if we see the ideas that I'm going to tell you in that that human, you see, we are as a human always curious. We are always driven by big questions. Probably at one point of time in our civilization, we have asked how was the earth formed, and it was actually small children also asked the same question, right? We also asked, and civilization constantly asking it, that how the earth was formed. There may be multiple stories how earth was formed. One account of that is scientific stories. Some stories may be religious, some of them are mythological, there are history also, but certainly there are scientific stories. maybe natural calamities that human observed and asked what causes those natural causes or natural calamities, what are the causes of those natural calamities. Questions probably asked that what are the celestial objects that shine in the sky. So we always looked at the sky and we thought, what are those? Probably some of us thought at one point of history that these are very small specks of fireballs. Maybe some other thought something else, but now scientific stories tells us something different. Scientific stories are different. It is not very different from other stories, but certainly talks about something interesting, and that has a special character of these stories. We can also ask, how did we come into existence? And the story that science tells us is very interesting. It is not linear. Many of the stories that we know, these are linear. But these stories that science make of human evolution are not linear. Now, the point is, we as humans, throughout the civilization, we have given enormous evidences that we can ask good questions. It starts from Homo habilis. Probably all human asked, even before Homo sapiens, Homo erectus, probably asked many such questions. And also they started using tools. And Homo erectus, after Homo erectus, when we became Homo sapiens, the entire journey of evolution is actually the story of technological advancement, cultural advancement in this human species. So when I'm going to classroom, science classroom, I have to believe in the absolute human capacities to ask questions, engage with these questions, struggle with these questions, and solve problems. Think about a situation when human was wandering in the forest, almost helpless considering the present scenario, but still human have traveled a huge path. Human discovered tools, invented tools. Human invented how to use fire in a controlled way much before the current civilization. We have developed language that is one of the difficult idea that still in schools we are unable to teach everyone, but human have actually invented tools, that is language. So we have enough potential among our students. Now the point is, in a science classroom, how can we harness this potential of human? That is the question. So one idea that actually many of you actually also asked, that how can we make science classroom truly interesting? Because science classroom often, I think even you can write in the chat box that how was your experience, science classroom experience? Was it boring? Was it interesting? What bothered you? What you found difficult in science classroom? But overall, my experience says many of us like science but don't like science classroom. And why this is so? If we like science, why we are not able to get good science classroom? Why we are not able to engage the children in science? That is a real problem probably. The answers of this probably many of us know. I'm not saying we don't know, but certain things are very easy to do in this school, but we rarely do. For example, can we bring out students from the classroom? It does not mean that classrooms, the students will never be inside classroom. Students will be in the classroom, but a substantial time they will also spend outside. They will read books and also they will read the nature. So can we bring these children out of classroom? Can we engage students in group work? Very small children, very young children can engage in very simple tasks like making patterns, playing with colors, and allowing them to talk. Very simple task. Can we foster this in science classroom? Foster these cultures in science classroom. Can we allow students to present their work, whatever they want to do? And as an adult, can we listen to them rather than telling them what to do or forcing them our own ideas? Can we ask them what does it mean? And being patient to listen to them. That what are you saying? What are you doing? What does it mean? Can we engage with a conversation with them? So if this is the scenario that you are taking students out of classroom, we are engaging them in group work, and we are engaging in a conversation with them, what kind of preparations we should do? This is a very important point. It seems very obvious because these are so simple to tell that everyone can do it, right? But what kind of preparation is required to do it? First thing that we have to understand that science is not only facts and information. Facts and informations become obsolete with time. John Dewey mentioned it long ago, probably around early 20th century. He mentioned it that what we should focus in science teaching, particularly in primary and middle school level. He said, of course, and many of us believe so, that rather than teaching science as facts and information, we should teach students how to learn science, how scientists work, students can do, engage in the same similar work as scientists do. Very simple, very simple. So can we do that? So for example, as you have seen, the students were making patterns. So can we ask them to find out new patterns? What kind of patterns do they find? What kind of colors do they find when they mix two colors? I need to tell them that if two pigments, yellow and green, adds up, what will be the color of the pigment? Rather than actually, if students are asked to do it, they will find it. They will take a record. They will note it. So our focus should be giving students opportunity to engage in the questioning process of questioning in the classroom, and also solving the problems, solving the questions that they have asked. So they are not answering others questions, they are answering their own questions probably. Seems it appears very simple, but as a teacher, what kind of preparations I should do? What kind of preparation should we should be we should be doing? First is our assumption, as I mentioned in the very beginning, that considering science as only facts and knowledge. And second one is considering definitions as scientific knowledge, considering the statements of laws as scientific knowledge. For example, usually in class 9 and 10, it starts from that we all ask our students, what is force? The students say force is push or and pull, push or pull. Or if you ask what is Newton's first law of motion, students will state what is the Newton's first law of motion. A very familiar Newton's laws of motion is the third law of motion, right? Everyone knows it. Almost everyone knows it, that every action has equal and opposite reaction. But is it the confirmation that they know the concept of Newton's third law of motion? For example, if we ask that in the cosmos, there is Earth and there is Moon. Now, Earth attracts the Moon with a higher force, or Moon attracts the Earth with a greater force. or they attract each other with equal magnitude. Many of the students actually think that Earth exerts a greater force on Moon than Moon exerts on Earth. But as per the Newton's third law of motion, every action has equal and opposite reaction. That means Earth and Moon exerts exactly equal and opposite force. And this is also true in the as per the Newton's first this laws of gravitation. There he says F equal to G m1 m2 divided by r square. But it's a very simple statement that even though students know the formula, even though they know Newton's third law of motion, but they are unable to answer it. So if you say that a stone is falling on earth and which one is attracting whom with a higher force? So is earth attracting the stone with a greater force, or stone is exerting force on earth with a greater force, or are they exerting equal force? You will find astonishing the same thing, but the point is all equal, all exerts equal force. So this is very interesting. So our obsession to definition, our obsession to laws, they stop us from doing actual science in science classroom. That is a huge problem. So these are the dispositions we have. In 1993, there is a report published by Ministry of Education, uh, Human Resource Development, Government of India. The report was famously called as Learning Without Burden, or even it is known as Jashpal Committee Report. It exactly mentioned the statement that it says that knowledge is equated with facts and information. So that is a problem. It is not concept that we are focusing on. Another important problem is we don't realize that facts and information in middle schools often change when students go to higher secondary or bachelor degree. So, for example, students are taught Rutherford's atom model, or they are taught Thomson's atom model. Now, if they taught Thomson's atom model, they are taught like Thomson's atom model is the correct model. Then they are taught Rutherford's atom model. Then also they are taught like Rutherford's atom model is the model, right? Then they realize that no, after 1 year they realize no, Bohr's model is the better one. But Bohr's model also they learn like this is the model, right? So every time you teach new scientific facts, and you teach just like as it's correct, but this is not the case. These are all evolution of the idea of concept of atom. So this disposition, considering every time teaching science just like it is correct, it is true, is a problem. Because I would rather appreciate the child who is questioning Rutherford's atom model in the science classroom, because anyway it is wrong. I would rather encourage the child who will not agree to accept Bohr's model, because I know Bohr's model is also not right. It was modified. If someone does not understand Newton's laws of motion, I would not be that disheartened, because I know this Newton's theory of Newtonian physics was also overthrown by theory of relativity at another point of time. So I would not be so unhappy. Rather, I would be happy that there is an historical context where we can have a new discussion. So, what I can do? This is my own photograph, and I was looking at a microscope, and I was in that photograph. I was trying to see different surfaces under the microscope. And you know one thing what happened? A new world came up in front of me. It opened up in front of me. I was looking at sand particles below this microscope. And what I found, so interesting, so bright, different, colorful, small stones was appearing to me. But the stone is white, right? It's a very white stone. But what I see, colorful stones in that microscopic picture. It opened up a new world for me. So what I'm trying to say, it is a symbolic thing. As a teacher, while I looked at the microscope, I extended my modality. I have just then I do not have only eye. I have a powerful eye, right? With the microscope extended my ability to see the world. So as a teacher, if I extend my view, I will realize that science is not only about the world that we see. Science is something that we don't see in my naked eyes. So in a science classroom, if teacher has to open up their eyes for themselves, then they will accept the world that children are seeing. Because once we are taught science in a traditional way, we blinker our vision. We look at the world the way we are taught to see. Probably children are not taught in that way, they are not trained in that way, so their vision are probably more open, they can see things more openly. So as a science teacher, am I ready to give the openness, and can we increase the modalities? So microscope is not only about seeing the slides of potato or like onion cell. It is not like that. Microscope can open up entire world. If I keep a mobile under the microscope, I will see the screen have three grids, three colors of grid, primary colors. So what I screen, the mobile screen I see under microscope, it will be different, right? So this opening up. So I think this is a very important uh, aspect of preparing teachers, science teachers, and as every one of us. I also teach science in a limited sense. Second element is using nature judiciously in a school and in classroom. So, for example, if you look at this, so I have some insects in my hand, and then there are butterflies. So there are butterflies. So here a butterfly. Then I have this. You know, this is what is this, right? This is very interesting one. So you know how what are they? So you can see these butterflies, right? They are all are dead. I have not killed them. They are all dead. It is also important to bring those, right? So I can have anything, right? I can just keep pots and etc. So keeping the natural resources around us, the for example, any pipe that we have, so anything, the plastic, this I can, so if I have these pipes, so these all can be used. So if I rotate it, it will a very nice sound. So this kind of things I can do this, I can have balls, this the ball bearings. So this can be my resource, right? These are the resources for science classroom. I do not need I do not need test tubes. Probably I do not. I can have this glass, right, and it can have multiple purposes. So I can play with it. I can do many things, right? Even this glass of water, I can use this for. So widening the scope of materials for teaching science, this is another approach. So if we go to this slide again, we'll realize that what is there available, we can use it, right? See, there are lots of things around us. So can we open up this for our children? And as I mentioned earlier also, so here also we can engage children with tasks. They can do things on their own. These are the students from school from Uttarakhand, and one of our teacher, she had taken the photograph, and I got it. So here students are working in group. They are preparing threads from cotton. So this is there in their course, right? So from this fiber to fabric, there's a chapter. So they're working on it. They're trying to make something. See, if I want to teach them, like statements. Probably it will take shorter time, but they will not remember for longer time. They will not they will not imbibe those learning, right? So that's why Gandhiji is teaching that what is said that we have to work, and all scientists they actually work. If you don't work, it will not. For any knowledge, this is the truth, right? So so this is one. So what I'm trying to tell here is three things. First, as a science teacher, am I ready to look at the world beyond what is visible? Can we see the world that is beyond? It is not yet visible to me. I have to uncover it. Am I ready to uncover? Am I ready to? Do I have courage to do it? It requires courage. And second one is, am I ready to bring resources in the science classroom? Is this is very important. And also you see there are some resources like even we can see some resources, for example, other than textbook we can have small science is a book that is prepared by this is being uh, published by Humi Baba Center for Science Education. So it's a primary science curriculum, and also there are science. So basically, they engage students in science. So there are many such. Ecolopo has the program. For example, NBT, CBT prepares books on science. So, for example, Ecolopo produces Balvaiganik. So these are very good science textbooks. There are research on what are the students' ideas. So there are many things that we can think of. At the same time, as a teacher, my preparation should be on a wider aspect. So I will go to probably I will go to that level, that point later, but the widening resource, that is what is important. And the last aspect is, am I ready to organize group work with children? And for that, teacher need to, for example, I particularly the teacher colleague, the the colleagues from that school where I worked, the colleagues actually were so hard working. So they were preparing so many things. So I could see them preparing for the class. So, for example, this preparation requires finding out cotton, preparing the worksheet, managing materials, and giving clear instructions what to do, how to do, also amount of time required for it. So can we do it in 45 minutes, or do we need 1.5 hours? If I need 1.5 hours, then we need to have a block period. So how this can be done? So this kind of preparation is also required. And this certainly not only as a science teacher, the entire school has to come up with it and look for meaningful learning. So the next element that I would like to talk here is, what are the factors that shape the nature of teaching learning? This I will not probably tell anything very, very different from what I have said so far, but these are extension of those ideas. So, for example, the same school I'm referring to. So my colleague, she, they arranged different bins, paper bins, and they requested their students that we follow this segregation from the under eco club and science club, and entire school within a time of 1.5 years or around 2 years, we all were accustomed to do it. We used to keep everything in the boxes. And you know what happened after that? That once materials were collected, later we have conducted class on waste segregation and waste management. So factor that is responsible for this kind of work in science classroom is creating a culture in a school that is a community culture. It is a social nature of this that makes science learning conducive, because Science in its nature is very public. It is not a secret task. No scientist can claim that I have invented something and no one uh, can replicate such kind of research because I have done it and this is my private knowledge. No scientist can claim it. Knowledge in science cannot be private. It is always public. It requires public validation. Several times, even sorry, several times, even those were correct knowledge, true knowledge, or truer knowledge. I would not say true knowledge because there is nothing like true knowledge. These are all a tentative in science. But any knowledge at that point of time was truer, was not accepted by community. For example, when Galileo said that Earth revolves around the sun and not the otherwise, actually, what happened? People did not believe him. And they asked for evidence, and Galileo could not provide that evidence, the evidence, the ultimate evidence they were asking for. And but we know that after several years, after Newton, we know it very well. We now believe in that statement. If today we say that sun revolves around the earth, then someone would think that we are full. But it is the case. But probably we don't know the reason. We don't know exactly what. We cannot explain why this is so, but we know this for a fact. So culture is very important. Creating a culture for science teaching, it is not only, it is just a symbolic to segregate material, but it is also important that as a community how we can start learning, start working. That is the probably one of the factors that we have to contribute. If it is not there, it will not work. Are we ready to believe in actual observation at primary and middle school level? If we want to study germination of seeds, if we want to study the growth of plants, if we want to know the factors responsible for germination, we should have a culture in the school where we are ready to work on it. I know many schools in India where classrooms actually do these activities. I know many teachers, those who are working in their classroom. So this is another factor, how you are taking the knowledge. Are you ready to do experiments in the science classroom? Are you just making you vulnerable for new knowledge? Because many times, many experiments can fail. It can take time, but every time you will learn something new. So are you ready for it? And the third element, probably what is I find very important, is allowing students making. In NCF 2005 specifically talks about it, and also the successive documents, the present NEP 20, the most recent NEP 2020 and NCF SC 2023 specifically talks about, there are all the documents globally, all documents including our national documents, they talk about the importance of making. But in our Indian classrooms, making is considered as something not so valued. We think the declarative statements are more valuable than making. But interesting point is making can engage you in a more meaningful way. For example, if I want to know properties of material and if I am engaged in making, I will understand things better rather than just remembering the properties of material. So this is a very important factor, how we look at knowledge and how we look at the doing. One misconception that is very dominant in Indian context and also probably in global context is we believe that technology is the application of science. But it is not. Technology is not application of science. Technology and science can independently flourish, and even without science, technology can flourish. When humans started using fire in a controlled manner, when humans have made tools They were not aware of science behind it, but they were aware of technology. When humans started writing, when humans started talking, language, these were all technology without knowing the science. And the problem in science classroom would be if we believe that science, knowing science is required because application of science is technology, then what you will do, you will first teach science, then you will teach technology, right? So first your chapter on simple machine will end, then you will ask children to make simple machine. But this is not the case. Human have developed simple machine first, and then they found the science of simple machine. So in classroom also, we have to make simple machine first. We have to allow children to make simple machine, and then we have to ask them. Then we have to derive the science of that. It is the simple, the same way human civilization have developed scientific knowledge. So this is interesting. So I am saying it is a factor because this disposition, this understanding on science and knowledge is very important. How we structure our classroom. So there were many such questions. So still, some of the questions I have addressed, but some I would also like to address. But if there are some live comments, then probably I can also check them. So yeah. So is there any live question that we can take up, or I should talk something more about?
Hi, Saurav. We don't have any questions at the moment. So maybe we can take some of the questions that we
Okay.
received during the registration and come
Okay.
back to any questions that the audience
Fine.
live with us
Fine,
had.
fine. So there was one question that was very. So I will just mention the question, and I will also tell uh, that how much we have covered. For example, one question was how to make science classroom more engaging and fun. So I have addressed it, but I also want to tell one very important thing that I believe it. I believe it that fun can be in two ways. One is only having fun, right? And many believe that one fun is I'm enjoying it. I'm happy with the situation. If you are happy with the situation, it is very possible that you will learn better. That is true. We all learn when we are happy. But what does it mean by real happiness? Intrinsic happiness. What does it mean? The people believe that the psychologist says that how people learn. You struggle with certain concepts, and once you learn that concept, and this moment you learn that concept, the happiness, that is the enjoyment. This is the real enjoyment. If in a classroom, we can first generate the interest in students and ask certain questions and then see what happened, right? And then if they have certain wrong ideas, misconception, and these are resolved in the way, then that will be real happiness. So science classroom engaging and full of fun is possible when we will not do only fun in terms of very superficial level, that is all are happy at one level, but it is also about becoming happy because you have learned something new, the idea that you were struggling with for long. So this is one aspect. One question that came: how to balance syllabus completion with creating space for wonder and inquiry. um, Honestly speaking, probably our focus is the problem, right? What is let me elaborate it. When we say syllabus, syllabus is a list of topics, and also nowadays also we include syllabus means how to assess, assessment criteria, etc., etc. But in any case, we will find that whatever syllabus, that can be actually integrated. Different topics can be integrated. It should not be like first chapter will be like any, for example, any inquiry based, any real world problem does not come with one topic. For example, if you are if not you, any of us, if I am trying to study the kind of soil at any city, village, anywhere, maybe in Uttarakhand, maybe in Rajasthan, maybe in Gujarat, maybe in Maharashtra, maybe in Himachal, maybe in Jammu Kashmir, maybe Assam, maybe Tripura, anywhere, West Bengal, Kerala, any place, Andaman Nicobar, any place, I'm just finding out the nature of soil. Now, see, what are the things I have to know? It is not only about knowing soil, right? Soil absorption, retention, and also the kind of things I have to devise to know about properties of soil, right? I have to design experiments. That for that I need to know properties of material. So things are not coming as a sequence of topics as they appear in the textbook. So things appear together. This is one element. Second element is, if from primary classes we teach concepts properly, we engage students in the process of learning. If we do not make them dependent on us, then syllabus can be completed, because every time students will learn better. So once they will learn better, they will be able to finish the syllabus faster. But if they're dependent on us, think about what will happen. Every time they will be dependent on us, they will be dependent on our class. So in a normal school, upper primary school, maximum 220 is the working day, right? Including all holidays and etc. Holidays means all national holidays where students has to go in the school. For example, 15th August, student has to go. So you cannot, if we look at like this, maybe it is difficult. Third element that we can do, we also have to see that in nature, the problem, these are contextual, they never come as one subject. For example, if I want to understand water cycle, I have to understand geography chapter also, geography also. I have to understand science also, right? And in water cycle, there are lots of poems, right? So I can know many things, I can know many subjects. So this is one very important point, that if we want to, so but certainly one very important thing is, for that we need good planning. Ekalabya Science Teaching Program, Humi Baba Science Teaching Program, Digantar Science Teaching Program, and there are many such programs in India. And in foreign, there, in Britain context, there is a NAFILD curriculum. They have this curriculum that shows it is possible to finish the syllabus in time. But yes, we have to believe in students that they can learn. And the next question was, how can teachers kindle scientific temper among students? I would say whatever I have said so far, these all are part of uh, developing scientific temper among students, going beyond authority of textbook, going beyond authority of any authority, right? This is very important to see that if people are nowadays, you will see that many people say this person said so, this newspaper said so, this media house says so. This is not the author. The science does not allow us to follow this authority. We have to prepare ourselves to, and we have to empower ourselves to investigate on our own, evaluate the given evidences, and then work on it. So yeah, this is one. And there was one more question, that pedagogy of science and inculcating scientific temper at the elementary level and among young children. I would say it is better not to teach science as a subject at primary level and upper primary level, but certainly we should teach the abilities. See, that is very interesting, because all children are curious by nature. They ask lots of questions. What we do, we stop them from asking questions. We say, no, 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 this is not the right time to answer, right? Many times we ask our children that, no, you cannot, you don't ask this question, I will answer you later, or when you will grow up you will know that answer. So this is something stopping their urge to ask questions. So first thing we have to do, we have to listen to them patiently and ask them, let us find out the answers together. Whatever answers we can come up with, we have to have a mechanism, we have to have this disposition to work with children, to learn together. This is very important, not impose our answers to them. This is, I am referring to kindergarten and This is one. Second is fostering observation skill. There are insects, right? We can tell them to how many legs do they have. So I remember a classroom where children were saying that ants have 8 legs. That is what they were saying. So when I heard that, overheard that their statements, what I did, I went to the ground, find out some ants, and I brought them in the in our common room and asked students two by two to come here, and I also asked them, gave them a this magnifying glass, and I asked how many legs do they have. Still, they say that some of them said that 8 because they counted this these antennas also. They counted their antennas, but that is fine. If they think this is leg, fine. We'll find out what to do. But still, they have to see, right? If you find the dead insect, then we can show them that these are the legs and this is the connected. This is the way these are connected. So this is what thing. So observation skill, fostering questioning skill, and not not encouraging students to believe in something on the basis of just following something, believing in something because it is said. No, if someone said world is flat, we have to understand what does it mean by world is flat. Many people say world is flat, but still they know that world is round. That has a different meaning. But I cannot tell students that okay, world is flat. We have to ask the questions, right? So this is one. Then openness of multiple answers. We should allow students to open. We should be open to accept multiple answers, right? We should ask students to carry out simple experiments. We don't need to do heavy kind of experiments. For example, this is the glass and this is the water, right? So if I ask students that if I pour water in it, and I don't know whether it will. So I can ask students that now these I have poured all the water here, and which one is higher? Now there's a more. So many students would say this is more because this the height is more than this one. So this is called Piagetian conservation principle, right? Students take one element height and they don't forget that volume is conserved. So they don't respect volume. They respect they go for height. So I need not to do rocket science in the classroom. What I have to simply do, I have to do something. This is also an experiment, right? This is a very simple experiment. I need not to work on it much. So similar things. I can bring magnets in the class, and I can ask students that okay, what are the things that will be attracted by magnet, and the students will use it to see what are the things can be attracted by magnet, and they find out what are the magnetic and non-magnetic substances, right? So I needed to do much things. So this is what I'm saying. So these are some of the examples, and
Saurav, we have a couple of live questions. Would you like
yes,
to take those
please.
and then we can go back maybe? Um, so there's a question on if you have a large class size, how do you conduct hands-on activities? And
Yeah,
by,
that is. So I will go one by one, right?
yeah, sure.
Yes. So this is very interesting question. I would rather see large class size also matters. What is the large class size? For many people, 40 is not a large class size, and for many, 30 is also even a large class size. Usually, it is observed that if classroom is less than 30 or 30, it can be in Indian classrooms, 30 students can be addressed in peacefully. That is very easy to handle, right? Because in India we are blessed with the students because our in Indian context our students are very disciplined. Discipline means they listen to teachers, right? So this is our the great advantage for our society. So the students are very empathetic. They are very kind. I have found that all students in our Indian schools are very kind, particularly government school students. They're very kind, very empathetic to teacher. So 30 would be an optimum time class, right? Now, this your question is very interesting because the way I will answer this would be a little bit complex because see if we establish a culture in our school where multiple teachers will collaborate, then you can run actually parallel sessions, right? So if two classes merge, you can divide them into two. If there are more than, yeah, in one class more students, one class less students, one. Or we can do one more thing. So in every chapter there are multiple activities. Even in textbook, I'm saying no new teaching plan is required. Let us focus only on what are the activities in the science textbook. So in every chapter there are at least 3 4 activities, right? Minimum 3 4 activities in science classroom. So teacher has to prepare 3 4 activities in 2 3 sets. So you need not to do one activity, 10 sets of one activity. What you have to do is one set of activity, one activity, 3 sets. So if there are 3 activities, you will have 3 sets or 4 sets, right? So what will happen? Students will do these activities one after another. They will do one set of activities, they will go to next set of activities. So they will roam around. They will do these activities. And one thing that we did in our school, actually, we took students in the field. So in a classrooms, we distributed the students. We gave them worksheet to fill. So whatever they are doing, they were doing in worksheet, and we managed the group. So yeah, that is what we did. Uh, Probably one problem that often arises, what I'm saying is group work seems to be very simple unless a school is prepared for doing group work. It requires, that's why I mentioned earlier, a school has to establish a culture of doing group work. So it requires 3 4 months. So if we prepare the school for this kind of work, large classroom does not have much effect. But yes, if it is too big, 70 80 students, then without multiple teacher, it is very difficult if the school is not prepared for it. Yeah, you are right. But it requires some time to develop culture in a school. I don't know how much you are talking about. What is the large class size? Yes.
So he mentioned more than 50 students,
Yeah, more
and
than
from the
50.
same participant, if they don't have proper lab facilities and materials, what can they do to make their science classes more hands-on? I know you covered some of them, but
Yeah.
maybe you
Yes.
could cover a few more.
Yes.
And quickly, with that itself, what is your take on online classrooms and online teaching?
Here also, I do not, my personal view is all modes and medium has their own limitations, right? Online also has its limitation. Online requires more attention and commitment from learner side. If learner is not committed, then online class will not work. And online, one major problem is we cannot communicate with all the people face to face or maybe other ways. So that creates certain hindrance. For example, now I'm whatever I am saying, I do not see faces except Pratiti's. So it is very difficult for me to understand what is the things happening. So yeah, but online class also can be effective. It requires, I would rather say it should not be like either or. It should be complementary. Whatever you can do offline, we can do offline. If remaining things we can do, we can go for online. But we need, there also we need someone to guide. For example, there's a online class going on, then one teacher is required to engage children in that. Yeah. And also you can share your own view. Yes.
The question on under-resourced labs or not having equipment, if you could, that you've covered a lot, but
Yeah.
we've got another question on it. So if you
Yeah.
could share
See,
some.
this is another obsession I'm saying that is about science classroom, right? So, for example, what is science classroom costly things would be this thermometers, right? Thermometer is little costly. This is costly. This is one thing is costly. This is very important, right? Thermometer is very important. You have to keep it. Other things are not, and many of the things are not consumable. For example, this is a mouth organ, right? So in sound classroom, if I in a science classroom, music classroom, if I ask students to make music, so this is very interesting, right? It is not a lab material. We can ask students to bring musical instruments. I am very bad at playing musical instruments, so probably I will create noise out of it. But musical instruments actually, yes, children can experiment it. As a see, it is such an interesting thing that yeah, balloon would be very. So, for example, this marbles can be very good example of teaching momentum, floating sinking, properties of material, and then uh, this I show this that if I so can you see certain kind of sound out of it? So when it is rotated, do you hear a sound, a kind of musical note? Because this is a tube and that is moving, and this is a rotation will give a sound. So we can use this toilet rolls, so we can have these cups, so we can have many things, right? We can have many things. So now many of the cells get dead, they cannot be used in our this electronic devices, but we can electrical devices, but we can use them so yeah, till middle school level I don't think. For example, this balloon, right? So you don't have pendulum. So what we can do, we can take rice in the balloon, right? If you can blow balloon and you pour some rice in it, then it will form a bob, and then this balloon will be like a pendulum. So everything can be done. So if you don't have weight in the, for example, you don't have weight in the classroom, no problem. This is the water. So if you take 100 milliliter of water or 50 milliliter of water, this is 100 gram. So I need not to purchase 100 gram of 100 gram of weight from the market. I need to do just take a plastic bottle and pour 100 milliliter of water. This is 100 gram, exactly 100 gram, right? Not exactly, it's a very very minorly 100, less than 100 gram, but it is for any practical purpose. It is fine, right? For balance, I can take a stick, and here I can take a clip, two clips, two side, and between one clip, and this will be my balance, right? So I needed to purchase a balance for it. The balance is there, so I have to put thread, and then I will get balance. So the idea is that then, yeah,
And the last question before we end, do we have any resources to make science classrooms more interesting that we can suggest? We may not be able to share it right now, but you will receive it as an email if we're able
yes,
to.
yes, true.
So, so will we have some resources that we'll be sharing with you over the next few weeks? Saurabh, would you
Great.
like to take any of the remaining questions that we had received during the registration?
Yeah,
We have a couple of minutes before we end.
yeah. So yeah, so one question was, what is the future of science and technology in schools where tools like ChatGPT are available? I would not like to answer it from science perspective. I would like to answer it through a sociological perspective, probably. What I would say, we still have a colonial mindset, and in a colonial mindset, we are always consumer of knowledge. We do not produce knowledge, right? So once you have a mindset of consuming knowledge, the chat gpt is very very dangerous, because every time you are typing something and you are accepting the knowledge as it is, right? Because you think you cannot generate any knowledge, but we can actually talk to ChatGPT, right? If ChatGPT answers something, I can ask another question to ChatGPT, that what does it mean? I know this. What is your response? I can have a conversation with ChatGPT rather than being consumer of knowledge. That happens in science classroom. We are passive listener to teacher in classroom, but we are not engaging in a discussion with teacher, right? We are not engaging in a conversation with teacher. So if our science classroom become conversational, ChatGPT will also be conversational. The point is the way we look at science, the way we look at knowledge, the way we look at human relations. The day we started believing human has enormous potential to generate knowledge, we have changed this earth in an enormous way, and so enormous that our own act has started backfiring us, right? We have created our own graveyard. So we are really powerful. We can bring our own fate into rubble. So we are really like dinosaurs, right? So we have to believe in our students. We have to believe in every individual. We have to believe in that intelligence does not reside in someone's mind. It is in everyone's mind. So that is what is, I think, important. So yeah, and there are some other questions, probably links between science education and climate change. Yeah, that is also, I think, important. But one very important thing I would like to just touch on is, but I'm not an expert in climate change, but many of the ideas of climate change can be understood from science classroom. For example, there are rhetorics that carbon dioxide is only a greenhouse gas, right? But there are even water vapor is a greenhouse gas. So, if in a science classroom you show the non-linearity of the nature, if you teach food chain in a way that shows complexity of nature, then actually it will help us to understand climate change also in that way. Understanding climate change also requires understanding radiation budget. It requires understanding orientation of Earth, inclination of Earth, because Earth every around 25,000 years, Earth makes one complete revolution on its axis. This is called precession of equinox. So that happens. It's all spinning tops behave like this. So Earth is also behave like this. So 25. So it is a 23 and a half now, but it is not sure after 1,000 years or 50,000 years. After 50,000 years, what will be the inclination? After 20,000, after 2,000. So it will change, right? It will change. It will change. So yeah, that will happen. So these are the science is also important to understand climate change in that way. So, but one thing I understand that if we have an understanding of basic science, it helps us to understand climate change. Uh, Otherwise it would have certain problem. Yes, the last question was inclusion of person with disabilities in science education. So I'm sorry, I'm not at all expert in that field, but also I want to ask one question. I want to ask that if our science education is not able to teach, prepare our citizens in science, preparing citizens for this purpose, for the science education is there in the curriculum. So if our 90% students are not prepared in this normal science classroom, then we have to seriously ask that is it, what kind of education is it, right? So whom we are catering to, even we are not able to catering the general students, then we really have to ask us this basic question. And I am very happy that many examples are also there. Roni Madam also mentioned that their childhood she had made balances with coconut shells. Yes, so this is what we have to bring back. This is one very important thing. Probably in teaching what we are doing, we are forgetting our childhood. We have to bring back our childhood in our teaching and learning. So yeah, yes.
On that note, thank you so much, Saurabh. That was such an insightful session. You really communicated what it means to be an effective science teacher and how we need to think like scientists ourselves if we want to have successful science classrooms. I think you also brought science to us in a different way and managed to give us that marvel of the wonder of science again. Thank you so much for taking the time and giving us so many
Thank
live examples of what um, how you can teach science with very basic materials that everyone has access to. Thank you. I think the comments are a testament to how much the participants enjoyed the session. Thank you, participants, for joining us this evening. Like Sinjini mentioned, we'll be having conversations on education every Friday, the first Friday of every month, starting from this month. So do tune in to that. Keep an eye out on our social media and our university website page. We look forward to seeing you at our next conversation on education. Thank you again, Saurav. Thank you,
you.
everyone. Have a nice evening.